It's a new technology, videotape, and it's changing. But whatever the equipment, the basic techniques of setting up are the same. And when things go wrong, as they occasionally will, well, the show must go on. Experienced users have developed methods of operating to solve problems they run into. You can benefit from this experience, which can be reduced to a three-sided attack on the areas that can cause problems. This three-sided approach to videotape operation will work for you no matter what your task, no matter what your equipment. However, for the specific location and labeling of controls on your particular gear, check the service manual or ask your serviceman. He can also offer practical tips on the best way to make use of your particular equipment. Successful operators use a system of logic for setting up the equipment. This system is based on proceeding from knowns to unknowns until every piece of equipment is operating in best adjustment. Here's how it works. We'll start with the simplest playback situation, just a receiver and a videotape recorder or VTR, and of course the tape you want to play. But you need two more elements, a good broadcast picture on your receiver and a tape you've played before. These are both known quantities and will be used to optimize your equipment. Why are these known quantities a good idea? Without them, you can't tell whether you're getting the best possible picture. And if something is wrong, you won't know what's causing it. So here's the logic. First, get a good broadcast picture on your receiver from a strong station, just like you would do with your TV set at home. If vertical hold or horizontal hold are off, they'll look like this and should be adjusted. Next, fine-tune the picture. The correct way with a color set is to turn the fine-tune knob until the herringbone pattern disappears. Some sets have an automatic fine-tuning switch, which should be turned off for manual tuning and then on again to automatically hold that setting. Now eliminate the color and adjust the black and white picture for contrast and brightness to show a pleasing picture. The broadcast picture used should be of a common scene, or you might overcorrect. The last step in adjusting the picture is to set the color level and hue controls so that color is natural. The best guide is skin tones. Finally, turn up the sound to a comfortable level and your set is ready. Now you can be confident that the receiver is functioning properly, and problems which occur must be from one of the other parts of the system. With the TV adjusted correctly, you're ready to adjust the VTR using a previously recorded videotape which is of known good quality. The reason you first use a recording known to be correct is simply to establish that the VTR is working properly before playing an unknown recording. So now connect the TV to the VTR. There are three possible ways to do this, depending on your equipment. The easiest is with multi-pin cables, which make all connections with a single cable. A second method is to bring audio and video from VTR to TV by separate cables. The third method, which must be used if your set is the conventional type of home receiver, is to connect to the VHF antenna terminals. Most VTRs have a choice of two channels. Select a channel that isn't being used in your city and fine-tune for that channel. If after connecting you fail to get a picture, check for a properly set mode switch on the TV. Also, some VTRs have a selector switch for color or black and white. No picture could mean a bad cable. If your picture is still not perfect and you see any of the following difficulties, you should make an adjustment on the VTR. A tracking error means the playback head isn't reading the recorded signal correctly. If adjustment of the tracking control does not eliminate all of the tracking error, ask your technician to restore it to normal operation. A second problem is skew correction. On some VTRs marked tension control. Incorrect take-up or feed reel tension will create bending of the picture. The skew control should correct this condition. A third difficulty is loss of color lock, which shows as a rainbow effect. Adjustment should bring in normal color without the rainbow. Now, having made these fine adjustments, you should be getting perfect pictures. And since your TV set and recording were known to be normal, your videotape playback unit is now checked out as normal. Finally, you're ready to play the new recording. If the new recording is normal, it should play back satisfactorily. If minor adjustments of either the VTR controls or the TV set controls are required, you'll know the fault lies with this particular recording and not the equipment. Experience has shown that this brief logical procedure will result in optimum performance of all equipment in the system. Making a videotape recording involves a few more steps, but the same logical procedure is used. The initial checkout of the receiver and the VTR playback is identical to the procedure just described. Now the camera and microphone and their cables, the record function of the VTR, and the blank tape must be systematically checked out. Let's pick up the story after the TV set has been tuned to the broadcast signal and the VTR playback has been checked out using a known tape. So here you go. You want to record a known good quality signal first. So switch back to an off-the-air broadcast signal and put a blank tape in the recorder. With a multi-pin cable, all connections are automatic. But if you're using separate audio and video cables, you'll need to attach 2 more cables to bring the video and audio signals from the receiver to the recorder. Please note that simple standard home receivers don't have these connections to send a signal to the VTR, and thus can't be used for this step. If there is no picture or sound at this point, check to make sure the VTR is in the record mode and the red record button is in the video cassette. If your VTR has meters and controls for the audio and video levels, these must be properly set so that the picture and sound will be identical in the TV and line modes. That is, that they will be the same before and after the signals have passed through the recorder. Of course, if these controls are set too low, you will also get no picture or sound. If you still see no picture, check cables and connections. To record, you must press the record and play buttons together. Look for the recording indicator light to tell you that the recording is taking place. Record 20 or 30 seconds. Study the quality of the image that you're recording so you can judge the playback quality. Remember, the purpose of this step is to check out the record function of the VTR using a known quality broadcast signal. You've also checked out the blank videotape. Now you're ready to check out the camera and microphone and their cables. First, bring audio and video signals into the recorder from the microphone and camera. The microphone will probably generate a feedback squeal if the TV speaker volume is set too loud or if the mic is too close. To check for quality, listen to the speaker while someone talks into the mic. Most VTRs have automatic gain control called AGC to adjust for fairly wide variations in loudness. The VTR probably also has automatic gain control for the video signal, but it has a narrower tolerance than the audio. Low contrast indicates not enough light. Under low light level conditions, be sure the lens is opened as wide as possible. High contrast indicates too much light. Outdoor scenes will typically require the lens to be closed down. In the lighted studio, you'll be in the middle of the scale. Try to keep the f-stop near the middle of the AGC range to allow automatic correction in both directions. Your camera may have a viewfinder, which you should adjust to match the monitor picture. And your camera may have accessible electronic controls, which the manual or your serviceman can show you how to adjust. When you've touched up all your controls, you should have a picture as pleasing as the top quality broadcast signal. If your recorder has meters, video and audio levels will indicate optimum settings. Now you're ready to record, just as you did with the broadcast signal. You'll probably want to turn the speaker down completely to avoid all feedback. Headphones will allow you to listen to the sound going into the recorder. After 20 or 30 seconds, you can play back what you've recorded. It should be perfect, including the sound.
Savings loans are having difficulty maintaining inputs.
You've checked out the final elements: camera, microphone, and cables. You've completed the whole process of setting up to record in a systematic fashion, which optimized each piece of equipment, proceeding from known to unknown. You're now ready to record your show with the confidence that the equipment is not only working, but working right.
Okay, stand by, we're recording.
Whenever possible, you should play back the last few seconds of your recording to make sure everything is still all right. Sure, you set up everything correctly, and it probably will continue to work as it should. But if it does fail, you're the one who has to troubleshoot and take corrective action. Here's how to go about it. Remember, your aim is to get back into operation as quickly as possible. A number of factors determine what action to take, but basic thought processes go like this. Is the equipment set up correctly? Go over the setup procedure looking for mistakes. The setup procedure is designed to determine the piece of equipment giving trouble. Before taking more drastic measures, you want to be certain you really do have a malfunction, not just a mistake. Is replacement equipment available? If so, simple substitution will get you back into operation. Some pre-planning will help you here. You should know where you can get backup equipment and how long it will take. Your long-term plan should be to have 2 of everything at hand. This increases the speed with which you can become operable again. Before you call in outside technical help, you should determine that the problem is solvable. For example, an obviously abused and mangled tape can't be played. Or bad skewing at the top of the screen may indicate an unstable signal on the tape which is beyond the capacity of any TV receiver to make steady. Sometimes you can describe the symptoms over the phone to your technician, and he could advise you whether the problem is unsolvable, whether you can solve it, whether he could solve it, or whether he should bring replacement equipment. The more checks you've run, the more likely you'll give him enough information for him to advise you. Your last practical hope is a service call by the technician. This is generally not a good emergency solution, because even if he is readily available and can get to you quickly, finding the problem is time-consuming, and then parts may be needed. More typically, however, he can bring a replacement piece of equipment while he takes yours back to the shop for repair. Naturally, the more time you have, the more likely you can find your problem and get it solved. As a practical matter, you should be prepared to get in touch with a replacement technician if your regular serviceman is unavailable. All of these troubleshooting techniques and the corrective actions you can take will help assure that the show will go on. The equipment is very reliable when treated properly. Obvious as it may seem, the best way to solve problems is to avoid them. Here are some do's and don'ts for the care and preventive maintenance techniques that will minimize downtime. First, it should be obvious that your VTR is only part of a system, and that care and maintenance are vital to all parts of that system for the system to work. Second, every piece of gear has its own peculiarities. Your supplier or serviceman can tell you the specific things to watch out for. Your serviceman can also give you a lot of general tips to avoid problems and thus keep operating. For example, moisture can cause short circuits. Hard bumps can loosen wires and connections. Air holes should be kept free to avoid overheating the parts. Operation in dirty environments will clog the recording head. Obvious as it seems, coffee cups or ashtrays on the top are almost a sure source of failure. Rough handling of the transport will result in mechanical failure. Pressure should be avoided. You might interfere with a moving part. Tampering with the tape cassette may cause damaged tape, and a jammed tape might damage the transport system or the recording head. A cleaning cassette may get you back into operation if head clogging is your problem, but use it carefully and exactly as directed. All other parts of the system require care too. Most aggravating is damage to the camera's picture tube by prolonged exposure to a bright light. Severe burns may be removable by aiming the camera at a bright, evenly lit surface. Other camera problems can be caused by rough handling. Care of the lens is the same as for any optics. Dust on the face of the pickup tube should be removed carefully. The TV set requires the same care as your home set, with special attention to moving it gently to avoid misalignment. Cables can be a major source of intermittent trouble. Avoid crimping the cables or damaging the connectors. By establishing good handling practices, reliability will be greatly increased. Bad failures because of improper handling will quickly convince you that it is wise to be careful. Preventing problems is a long-term continuing effort you must make to increase the reliability of your video operation. Applied in conjunction with proper setup procedures and prudent corrective action when troubles do occur, this three-sided approach to the video medium has proved highly successful. Of course, everyone who uses the equipment should have this same training. And these same logical techniques are extendable to more complex equipment, machine-to-machine dubs, and multiple camera or multiple monitor setups. Ask your supplier or your serviceman to tell you about each new piece of gear, the right way to use it, and the problems to avoid. Take good care of your equipment. Set up and check out each component one by one. And if troubles occur, isolate the difficulty before deciding on corrective action. Each time, the procedure will become more automatic. So when troubles arise, whether with a simple playback or a more complicated recording session, you'll handle it. The show must